Hey, what's going on, brothers and sisters? Astrologer Eric Rosen here from Viking Rising Astrology. This is your daily horoscope for Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Thanks so much for being here. Well, we still do have that moon in Sagittarius, and so we're still in that new moon energy. It is already crossed that Mercury that's retrograde by the time that we wake up Monday morning, unless you're up all night. So we can probably wake up maybe feeling a little bit fuzzy. It's a lot to try to understand mentally, emotionally, but the drive, the courage can be there, even though that Mars is about to retrograde here by the 6th of this month. And I think that these are opportunities for us to see that the courage really is in shifting our belief systems and shifting our perspective to something that is more beneficial with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. That no, we can't always have the dreams like right now when we want them and getting frustrated, and that actually, wouldn't really satisfy or make us happy anyway. It's like thinking that we want to hurry up and get to the end of the day, get to the sunset, get to the date, get to the paycheck, get to the thing. This is about like slowing our roll, like not skipping like the goodness of life. This is about changing the story and the approach to see that like the story and approach actually has been somewhat consistent spiritually anyway, of like the roads that we're walking. It's just sometimes where our ego maybe like gets in the way and like casts judgments and says that it should be looking different. It's going to be more so about finding, not in like an ambivalent, like, high low, getting too optimistic and rosy and then bottoming out in disappointment in other parts of the day, but walking more of like a middle ground that is more grounded, that is more sustainable, that, it's like, okay, like, yeah, we all want to see the possibilities of what can be, that expand us, that connect to our future, to our best timeline. It could be an overstudy of wanting to understand that, or the people that are going to be a part of that. Like, how's that going to connect into the world and this new world that we're stepping very much into, and it's changing even more these next few years. You could look at this time, especially could feel this way with Mercury retrograde in Sag, it's like it's a loading program for the couple years to come of deep transformation, of change, and that the loading program maybe feels a little bit jammed, and you might feel like you're doing some of the same stuff, feeling like that your Amazon package from Spirit is like delayed or something, giving you like the data, giving you the facts, giving you the understanding that will come when Mercury retrograde meets up with the sun, which is called the Mercury Cazimi, where it's like your mind and soul kind of like merge as one for a moment. You get a deeper mental, heart, soul level based understanding. And so this new moon came in a really precarious time where it's like, okay, change, shifting, mutable energy of it being Sagittarius and the new moon that's squared over to Saturn, but that can cause delays. It can feel like there's a lot to do. It can even feel like a weird flip of like the stuff that you like don't want to do is maybe the stuff that you do need to do, that's actually going to advance you to the next understanding of like the dream and where you want things to go, that's like modest and achievable and like a realistic time frame, versus like just wanting to do the stuff that you want to do and checking it out and being like, maybe that's coming from an inner child piece. This Mars, it is very much slow, shadow, like lots of hard-based emotions that aren't going to be understood fully for a few months. That Mars in Leo, it rules Aries where the North Node and Chiron is at. And so I said in a video that I just did, both for the sun sign horoscope that I did for December, which you can check out, and then also one that I did more collectively for that Mars retrograde in Leo, that it's inner child work. It's going back to the early, you could call it foundational years of just like the development of our happiness, our vitality, our passion, like who we are, like what motivates us like as a soul, which that will always be the same, like where especially the sun is at, like in your natal chart. But this is more of like a collective bridging of where we're at in the modern sense of times, that we're in a space in the world and in a country where it's almost like too weird to like be happy and be passionate and be excited in a way, because you're living like your best life, and it's actually a sustained excitement. It's not like a super fucking high exalted only to set you up for a great fall depressed type of way that's almost like manic. It's more so going to be about these opportunities to, you could say, strategize, but the strategy is only going to come more so from how do you set up your reality of the actions that you take, that are the things that you know that you can do, they're going to keep your frequency the highest, that you're not doing things that are self-sabotaging, self-undoing, that have been like your comfort zone, and it's coming from like some weird inner child pattern, and that you're actually listening to your intuition and asking questions around things that need to make sense for your life to be like, okay, well, how do I make this work? And like try to ground it practically, because in this astrology, it's like things can get a little too far out there and become too overwhelming. And people can get optimistic with that, but they can get disappointed because of the overwhelm of it too. But then either end of the spectrum, it's almost like all air, all fire energy, and it's like nothing's getting done. It's like, let's use the earth energy that we do have, which is Venus and Capricorn and Uranus and Taurus, to still achieve and spiritually sort of find, you could say, a way of mastery of manifestation, of creation. I think this is where creation is still very much our best friend. You know, it's like give the physical nature of having the ability to create things in the physical realm of, to get an understanding, to give a place for that passion and creativity of all that fire and air to go. I think Venus in Capricorn is probably like looking around at like the wake of like what Pluto left behind and sort of being like, man, you know, like, am I going to try to like glue this like trophy back together from like yesteryear? It's like, no, you don't want to pick up an old value system from the past. It's probably not going to work. It's more so about moving forward in the tangible day-to-day reality to see that like we're in a weird unknown territory and universe, that we're all still very much learning and it's in transition, and that we can still be happy and appreciate and just have basic levels of gratitude even for the challenges, and not getting obsessed with like what's working, what's not working, and then it's like your mind's going like too fast, and then you can't like get the solution. You know, one thing I learned so far with Pluto and Aquarius is like the light bulb moment comes like kind of like when you just like detach and let it all go, and you just kind of die to like the complexity of it. It's like I had a problem this past weekend, and it was like someone was like, okay, well, what do we do? What's the solution? I'm like, well, right now I'm processing the disappointment of something not working out, the challenge, I don't know yet. And so I just use my intuition to express I'm open to ideas. And then they made a statement that was kind of open-ended, and then it clicked. I'm like, okay, got it. I know what to do now. I just needed that, you know, Aquarius like helper, like water bear. I needed more information, and then Pluto helped come in and everything clicked. I'm like, okay, this is what we'll do, and then everyone will be happy, all is well, right? And it's not just like, you know, sorry we fucked up, sorry your steak's undercooked, like just eat it, or just take it back and you're not getting a new steak. It's like, how do you make the new steak? So what I'm saying is like, it's going to be slippery. No one's going to be perfect right now. Do your best not to judge yourself or others. Grace and compassion still super fucking key during this time. And it's hard because, you know, this is where value systems can be changing so much, where it can feel like, you know, compassion or unconditional love, or just even using Mars to slow down to understand like where we can be better creators, like in our lives that make us like happy, that it's not like following like some like Wolf of Wall Street, level of ambition of like getting things done that can be the adrenaline fuel. The adrenaline tank is going to get disconnected during this Mars retrograde, so it won't work anymore. So, what I'm saying is all these things, the love, the grace, it can feel insignificant or impractical or, just inconvenient to people for like getting things done. But I think we have to remember, like, with the ultimate guru is God, like the new moon in Sag, like square Saturn in Pisces, and then with Mercury retrograde, like mentally, egoically, you look at all across the zodiac, it's like we as the individual just self by ourselves as a, just ego self human, we don't know how to achieve or create exactly what we want and to get to the end product. We're literally figuring out those complexities day by day. We can't force building bridges with others. We're going to have to rely on a complex combination of our intuition, but still factual, rooted understanding of things, and to be okay with still taking it slow. We are still in that full moon energy of Taurus from last month. We don't have another full moon for almost a couple of weeks. It'll be in Gemini, and then the all will be in the small, and then things get like choppy. So it's like, even appreciate any amount of emotional, physical stability in your life, even if it feels like a little boring or, mundane Taurus, like simple, like that, whatever at least like has like sure footing to it, like just keep like going with that. And if you're pushed to like do bigger things and bigger plans by your intuition, let that creation and excitement flow in of where you can take those things. But I would take it immediately and put it into a SMART goal, like specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, I think is what it stands for. But more or less, it's like, okay, you're excited, you have a vision, it's very Sag-like, but Jupiter at fault, Gemini, retrograde, like make it like that you can actually make it happen. It's gotta be something that, I hate to poo-poo, like some of the new age stuff, but it's like your spirit guides can hand you scrolls of information and help you execute, and you can do that in the moment. But with North Node Chiron, it may not go to your ego's expectations. Sometimes it might seem like they're leading you in circles on a wild goose chase, which is why it's good that we have free will, because, sometimes it's good to just be human and to just like change like something, but it's also like, don't change your life like fucking so drastically that you're like moving half your life across the world, metaphorically speaking, or literally, and saying like, fuck your spirit guides or your angels or something. But it's like, it's okay to like use the free will. It's okay to like, that's part of the sensitivity. It's like, we're only going to get like the human lessons if we're willing to take the action, and that we may not always have the information clearly understood, especially from an egoic factual standpoint. And that this is a time to, just be okay with that. Like, they can give you those scrolls, but, does it still make sense for your life? And I think that's the free will part, is like, there's still a courage and conviction that you don't want to get like too feminine with the angelic realms, where they can't come down here and do it for you. They can't strike the hammer. They can't boot up the computer. They can't put your fucking shoes and socks on in the morning. They can help you feel good about those things, right? But it's like, you, the being with the vessel, the body, the can-do attitude, and that's important right now, is the one that has to do it. And so I would save your energy for asking questions that actually help advance you to a next level based upon anything that feels restrictive or challenged in life, or problems that are very much worth solving is a key here, and that it's like more of the simple stuff. Like, don't give it so much like energy and attention, because that could be like the victim trap of like the inner child wounds with this Mars, retrograde coming, where it's like, you don't have to relearn all of life and like overly question like everything right now with this astrology. It's more so about, it's like communication stuff's probably going to come out with the Mercury retrograde, but it's like, it's Mercury retrograde, you know, but life can still keep moving forward, right? There's other planets direct. Just because we may not have the full, just big picture mental understanding of like all the exciting things that we want to be able to do, it's actually more so probably about shedding beliefs, I'd say both conscious, unconscious, repressed, suppressed stories that are just basically just self-sabotaging, screwing ourselves over, you know. Last piece that just wants to come through here is begin with the end in mind, because when you have stuff like this happening, I think it, you know, that new moon was in the gene key that deals with intentionality. So it's like, start with the end in mind of the intention that you hold it before bed, see the type of day you want to live. When you get up in the morning, that's positive, like connect with that. You know, there's going to be, it's like, let the good surprises come from who you connect with, or, you know, even this could bring up, you know, fun monetary stuff, which bonus for those of you that have watched this video this far, because I've been meaning to mention this and I haven't, especially with this new moon and Sag energy of abundance. This was not my original channeling, so I cannot take credit for it, but there are some great channelers out there, and just other people being visited by ETs that are saying, hey, like XRP is the cryptocurrency to get in on. So like if you know, want to invest in something that's probably not going to be the ultimate currency system with crypto, but I think it's going to be a nice bridge, you know, for what comes next. XRP in like a month jumped up from like, it's like one XRP was worth like 50 cents. And just even the past week, it went from like $1.38 to like $2 or something. And it just keeps climbing. And there's predictions of it getting up to 5 figures, maybe 6. So it's like, you know, you throw $500 in there in 3 or 4 years, it could be, you know, worth $5 million. So just wanted to throw that out there for anyone that's, you know, also wanting to work with just their belief systems around abundance, you know, because there's something to say about the interesting lack of transparency, the lack of backing in terms of like the gold that used to back the dollar and how it's considered a fiat currency now, and just all these different things. And so, but it is still Uranus and Taurus, and that is the ruler Pluto. So Pluto, just a reminder, it's like wherever you're investing your energy, you still got to know your fucking worth and know your place in the world. It's like being the Rock. It's like charismatic, knows his worth. He's like, know your role, shut your hole. You know, it's like, it's actually really good advice right now, because everyone can be too opinionated, too guru-like right now. That's where the worst slip-ups can happen, is because you're getting involved in conversations and debates and subjects that have nothing to do with your personal life or even just your area of expertise. And so, you know, just weird shit. So it's like, stick to the program, soldier. Like, stick to like what you intuitively know that lights your heart up, even if you don't know fully just everything, right? Like, start using Mars to you know, go, you know what, like, maybe I do have to intentionally choose to be happy right now. We have to intentionally choose to be happy. I think that's a part of a way to use all this fire energy too. It's like, even though there's a sensitivity to the next step, and maybe we don't always feel our best, feel our strongest, we can bring intention, we can bring self-inquiry and ask, how can I be stronger? How can I grow up and show up? How can I be more passionate and creative? And especially, I'm hearing too, to just like get over like our deepest core wounds of like that thing that we always go back to. If anything, your core wound in life that stung you the most is going to be the medicine that you work through that's going to allow you to help others the most, whether that's directly or indirectly. Like for me, it's like, it's a mom wound. It was an abandonment wound growing up. So it's like, there's intuitive hits and ambitions to like continue to keep helping men around that mom wound. Those are the type of men that tend to show up in my shamanic coaching containers for their healing work. And then women, you know, it tends a little bit be more about suppression of their desires, you know, suppression of like their connection to their sexual side. That doesn't have to be sexual in nature. It's more so just like the embodiment of the feminine, for them to go and use their creative creatrix energy to make things happen in their way. in a more magnetic, receptive, feminine way. So I think the feminine's going to have to hold the line a lot for the masculine these next few months, which may not seem fair. I'm just going to put that out there, but you know, it'll kind of feel a little bit flip when Venus is retrograde next year and Mars isn't, and then but it'll still, you know, we're still gonna have Chiron and Aries, so that's the tough part. But if you want to get a astrology reading and you also want to do some timeline work around some of this inner child Mars retrograde stuff that's very much like coming up, I've got a 2-session deal. That link will be down below, where you can do first the astrology reading to get clarity, and then the timeline work where we specifically go into certain ages of your childhood, like the places that you're wounded the most. We get the emotional clarity, we get the picture, we get what's still maybe weighing on your heart. Then we're going to alchemize that shit so that you can go forth with more prosperity, creativity, commitment, tenacity in life, where you don't feel locked in your happiness and your creative potential. So I love you all. I'll see you on the next horoscope.